A Department of Agriculture official, Shirley Sherrod, was forced out of her job Monday after a DC TV video clip posted on a conservative blog made her appear to be racist. Watch.
I was struggling with the fact that so many black people have lost their farmland, and here I was faced with having to help a white person save their land. So I didn't give him the full force of what I could do. I did enough.
But there are problems. One, her story took place almost 25 years ago, and two, the clip was taken out of context. She went on to say this.
Working with him made me see that it's really about those who have versus those who don't. That's right. You know, and they could be black, they could be white, they could be Hispanic. And it made me realize then that I needed to work to help poor people.
Well, for some reason, nobody bothered to get the context of her statement, and now the woman is out of a job. But that might not be the case for long. With me now is Kelly Goff, political analyst and contributor to the Loop21.com, Essie Cupp, conservative blogger and author of Losing Our Religion, the liberal media's attack on Christianity. Why didn't anybody, Essie, why didn't anybody bother to listen to the statement in its entirety?
Unbelievable. I mean, the NAACP had the entire tape and condemned her before they bothered to listen to it. I don't know if this is just we live in too fast a world and so we don't bother to double check, or the media doesn't know how to do its job anymore, but it seems like the White House and the Department of Agriculture doesn't either.
And neither did the media didn't either. Yes, go ahead, Kelly.
Well, Joy, you must have ESP, because I've actually sat on this very set with you where you said that you lamented the demise of old media for reasons just like this, which is that who's going to be there to do the homework and do the checking. And it's you know, it's a black mark on the eye of new media, which I'm a participant in.
Yes.
But I have to say, though, when I heard that the NAACP and Glenn Beck were in agreement on something, which is that this woman took her job back, I thought I might need my ice skates to go, you know, ice skating in hell, you know, because it was sort of like being in an alternate universe, Seinfeld's Bizarro world, perhaps.
Well, it was just a screw up. I mean, but who's most at fault here? The guy who first posted it, this guy Andrew Breitbart, who's a right-wing blogger. News organizations for running, or the Department of Agriculture for firing her.
There's a lot of blame to go around, but at the end of the day, the buck has to stop with the administration, right? Because before you fire someone or demand someone's resignation, which we all know is a version of being fired, you got to do your due diligence. You shouldn't be just relying. I mean, look, bloggers make mistakes. People in the news media make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. But if you're going to fire someone, the buck has to stop with you.
Why did they just jump to firing her? Are they afraid of the right-wing machine?
No,
and the White House, then why?
Really? No, of course.
Why are they so afraid of it?
Well, because the right-wing media has been very good at doing the liberal media bias boogeyman. And so many people in the administration are so terrified of getting labeled with that they immediately sort of put their hands up and wave the white flag in moments like this. And I actually think that this is probably going to be the best thing to come out of this situation, is that hopefully there's going to be a backlash to that. I think this could actually be a long-term good thing.
What do you say to that, Essie?
Well, I think the media is to blame. Culpable, absolutely, but on both sides. I mean, the left-wing media, the liberal media, also cries racism where it doesn't exist. And the right-wing media inflates these issues, absolutely. But when you have a Jesse Hymietown Jackson out there, you know, talking about racism and the LeBron James, you know, dismissal, then it's sort of like the boy who cried wolf. And we're used to talking about racism now where it doesn't exist. Everyone's very sensitive to it. Who is to say that the administration wasn't more afraid of the NAACP than it was of Fox News?
But the bigger issue here is that you have the Jesse Jackson on one side and you have the president on the other, and there's this ongoing campaign to try to turn the president and his administration into some anti-white agenda, which is so laughable to me because the man is just as much white as he is black, which everyone seems to sort of forget when people like Glenn Beck are running around and calling him anti-white and racist.
Well, isn't that because he's they're considered a liberal, and so they think that he's pro-black and anti-white?
He also refers to himself as black.
Okay, I mean, you know,
so on his census report.
And the reason he refers to himself as black on a census report is because if someone who looked like him you thought mugged you, you would not describe him as a guy who was possibly half white. You would say there was a black man, a 6 foot whatever black man.
Why are we going to violence all of a sudden?
Because you said
calls himself
Because you would
He
call him
calls
black
himself
if you
a
saw
black
someone who
president.
looked like him.
You
would
can't
call
have it
him
both
black.
ways, though, Kelly.
How am I trying to have it both ways? I'm saying the man's half black and half white, and the reason he put on his census he's black is because that's what you would call him.
No, that's what he is
said.
calling him.
That's
That
what
is
I
what
said.
he is calling him.
So how would you describe him?
Well, you know,
if he's a stranger,
black. He's black.
Oh, okay. So it's not just him arbitrarily picking his racial identification.
I don't think he
that's how
arbitrarily.
you
This is
identify him.
This is
it's
how
ridiculous.
he identifies.
Because you just said that's how you would describe him. That's how he's
Because
describing
he
his
has-
culture.
this is
He
like
looks like a
chicken or
black.
the
He
egg.
looks like
This
a
is-
black person. You sound ridiculous.
But it's not that he looks like a black person. He is a black
doesn't
person.
look like a black person,
Girls.
so he doesn't.
It's
saying he
not
doesn't.
that he looks like a black
So you don't
person.
think he does?
It's that he
You don't
is a
think-
black person.
No, but
you don't
Jesse,
think he looks like one?
don't you see that when you're growing up as a child,
Yes.
even if you're mixed race, if you are dark skinned, they will refer to you as a black child. So
Sure.
that's how he was raised.
Okay.
Even though his mother was as white as you were, he was still referred to as a black child.
Right,
So
but-
that's
And I'm
why.
saying the right's trying to turn it around. Like he's uber black. He's so pro black. That's why
I
he
have
calls himself
never
black.
heard
But he
anyone
looks
on
like
the
a
right
black
say
person.
he's super black.
Well,
who talks like
Glenn-
that but you guys?
Glenn Beck.
This is
Glenn
a
Beck said he's
boogeyman
Glenn
that
Beck
you
said
guys
he's
are putting up.
anti-white. Why does Glenn Beck say he's
All right,
anti-white?
I
Why
have
does
to
Glenn Beck say
interrupt this
that?
for a second. We'll have more fighting in the next segment. Just stay right where you are. I'm back with my volatile panel. While the Senate is ready to pass a bill which extends unemployment benefits to millions of Americans, conservative economist Ben Stein is taking heat for what he said about the unemployed. This is what he said. The people who have been laid off and cannot find work are generally people with poor work habits and poor personalities. Okay, thank you, Ben. I mean, I've been on unemployment insurance, and I don't believe that I had bad work habits and bad personalities. In fact, I have a fabulous personality, as we all know. So, do you agree with that
No,
statement
I've
at
been
all?
laid off. It sucks. Anyone who's been out of work knows it sucks. I think the point that he was trying to make, and you know, he has a very dry sense of humor, is that sometimes you can't blame the economy when you're out of work. Sometimes you're just an unappealing employee, and sometimes you get fired, especially when times are tight. But people tried to link this to some kind of support for the end of employment benefits, which he does not agree with. He wants to extend unemployment benefits.
Well, then why
so
would
there
he
was
say bad timing on that topic?
It was
because it happens to be
a
going
very
on
Ben
right now.
Steinian, American Spectator.
Well, he's coming on here next
kind
week.
of thing.
I understand. So I'm going to get to
He'll explain.
see him there and discuss it with him. But what do you think about it?
After reading this, I was thinking he might want to stick to acting because he made much more sense in Ferris Bueller when he was saying Bueller.
Oh, he's very, very smart economist.
He just didn't sound so smart in this particular piece. And we all have our moments. But I was going to say that, you know, the funny thing about, you remember the saying in It's a Wonderful Life where the little girl says, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings?
Yes.
I was thinking to myself, every time a conservative opens their mouth and tries to blame the unemployed for their plight, either by making them sound lazy or unlikable or unmotivated, it's like a bell rings and a glimmer of hope shows up in the eye of a Democrat who has a midterm election. Because the more they talk, I think the sillier they sound.
She's got a point. Doesn't that
No,
hurt?
she doesn't. The Democrats should be worried about joblessness, not the way Republicans sound when they talk about joblessness as midterms coming up. They have bigger fish to fry than Ben Stein.
But why don't the Republicans come up with an idea about joblessness? I've heard nothing from the right.
Look,
except reduce the
Republicans,
deficit.
well,
and
the
don't
only
give
idea that
people
Obama
ideas.
has come up with is to keep people out of work longer. That is the only big idea that this administration has put forward. Republicans want to extend unemployment benefits, but we want to pay for it. This money isn't coming from, trees.
First of all, Joy,
Why is it that, as he said, he had a statement, he said the same people who didn't have, this is Obama, the same people who didn't have any problem spending hundreds of billions of dollars on tax breaks for the wealthiest Americans are now saying we shouldn't offer relief to middle-class Americans.
That's a really great way to frame it. I mean, that is good messaging, but it's just not true.
Why is it not true?
Well,
when the tax breaks were coming down for the rich during the Reagan administration, during the Bush administration, I did not hear word one from the right about how that was going to affect the economy. Now they're yelling that they're giving money away to unemployed people.
You don't penalize a specific economic economic group, especially one that spends a lot of money and has the ability to re-energize the economy by taxing them.
But doesn't unemployment insurance put money back into the system also? These hedge funders are not going to be spending their money. They're investing all their money.
But we don't know, Joy. A lot of people that we've talked to, you know, people in the media have talked to who have been on unemployment have said, I haven't even started looking for a job, and I'm not going to as long as I'm on unemployment.
That doesn't go on forever. See, I've been there. I have to go. I'm afraid this is over. Thank you very much, you ladies, for joining me, and thank you all for watching. Good night, everybody.